Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to North Shore Live Cooper's Corner. We're live this evening. This is June the 11th. The weather's a little chilly, so I'm sorry. I had to wear, something to keep warm with. And rainy. We out here in the suburbs, we received 2 inches of rain, a little over 2 inches. I hope that your basements are not flooded. And I hope that all is well. We don't have to water the plants, so we don't have to worry about that. I hope everything is good. Father's Day is fast approaching. Please remember Dad on Sunday, on Father's Day, June the 15th. And this is all heads up for everybody in case they forgot. Today is Wednesday, and Friday is June 15th. It's Father's Day. So enjoy your family, enjoy your friends, have a good Father's Day, and if they were in the service, thank them very much for their contribution to freedom, and I hope that they are all well. Well, this evening we have a wonderful program, as we do every Wednesday, but we have JoAnne Denison on the program, and as you recall, from my YouTube, JoAnne and Ken Dikowski are 2 attorneys that are trying to right the wrong of the 18th floor in the Daly Center. The 18th floor is probate, and along with other agencies and other groups and bloggers, NASGA, and probate sharks and individuals, Janet Phelan, and all the other people that are coming about to be able to write to tell about the word is corruption. I'm not afraid to use it. Unfortunately, we experienced it, so I can say it because it cost my mother her life. The word is corruption. And the judge that we had, she left town. Her name is Lynn Kawamoto. She took off for Texas. So in case anyone's watching this on the YouTube, because it goes all over, and you come across Lynn Kawamoto, then just make sure that you let her know that Illinois doesn't want her back. But if she does come back, we can get her a beautiful outfit. It's either orange or gray or blue. And it's a one piece, and she'll like that a lot. And the other judge that took off is Judge Stewart, Jane Stewart. She's no longer a part of the 18th floor. She's took off. She's vanished. Also probate. She's in the Sykes case. And the other judges, they just keep moving around and into different areas. But we know who you are, and we know where you're located. Please watch my program on YouTube because it has a succession of programs with Ken Dikowski and JoAnne Denison. And Ken, as we went to the ARDC, as was JoAnne, denied the First Amendment rights. Evidently, Illinois has never heard of the U.S. Constitution and have denied these 2 honorable, with integrity, attorneys not to make any waves or make any comments about the corruption on the 18th floor. There may be corruption on other floors. All I know is what we lived through. So without any further ado, we have JoAnne Denison here, who's going to talk about the happening of the 18th floor and what's going on in Crook County. JoAnne.
Thank you very much for the lovely introduction. I really appreciate all of the nice things you say. I'm not too sure that they're always deserved, but I am currently on the 18th floor quite a bit. And if I see something where the law is X and they're doing Y, I've learned to say that because the ARDC doesn't like corruption.
Oh, well, they don't like the word. They like corruption,
It might be
but they don't
too
like the word.
complicated. So I thought,
Too complicated.
all right, the law is X and people are doing Y.
Yeah.
All right, we need to bring those two things into alignment. So that's what I say now on my blog. I just simplify it for the ARDC. I want to make sure that they understand. If the law is X, you do X. It's not hard.
No.
In your mother's case, there were severe abuses where they just couldn't figure out what the Illinois Probate Act said. And what happened to your mom, and I'm going to repeat it again, is she had 29 gold teeth mined from her body. That was a horrible happening. And I noticed after you told me that, I put it on the blog, and I know that the FBI reviews my blog. Thank goodness she was gone.
Yeah, Kawamoto was gone.
I wish her no ill will. I just don't want her to see her in these positions where she can harm and devastate families.
Well, I don't wish her any ill will, but I do wish her to come under the scrutiny of the FBI and be punished for taking my mother's life, because she was 99 years old and she was in good health. All she had was arthritis. She was bedridden, but they denied her food to eat. They pulled her teeth and they put a gastro tube in her stomach, and they didn't feed her.
And that wasn't necessary, right?
No, it was not necessary. She was a wonderful eater, and she went down to maybe 80 pounds. It was terrible. Just bone, like from a concentration camp.
And if you can get those pictures, I understand.
I do. I have.
Please get me the pictures.
Yes.
I want to put them on the
Yes.
blog. I know it's painful for you.
It's terrible to look at.
But we have to remind these judges, these GALs, that the things that they do, they have these serious effects. And therefore, it is important, if the probate law says X, they have to stick to X. I know you were also isolated from your mother for a period of time.
10 months, almost a year, could not see her, and they wouldn't allow me to see her. Miriam Solo was doing that. She kept us away because she didn't want me to investigate why my mother didn't have teeth in her mouth. She only had 3 teeth left in her entire mouth, and there was no reason for that. My brother was her dentist and took very good care and filled her, her fillings with gold. And the minute that they saw the gold in her mouth, they yanked the teeth. And the worst of the worst, I had to pay the dentist to come in. They told me they were cleaning her teeth. They didn't tell me they were pulling her teeth. And that's what they did. And they pulled her teeth. And she died of starvation and dehydration. If they have to exhume the body, I'm all for it. I would do it, absolutely. Although I don't want to wish to disturb her final rest, but I want justice to be done. I want Judge Kawamoto to be put in jail. I want Miriam Solo to be put in jail. I want David Martin to be put in jail. His daughter, what's her name, Melissa?
Yes.
Martin?
There's a Linda and Melissa Martin, I think.
It's Melissa, because there was no need to have 2 GALs for my mother. And all of a sudden they appeared on the scene. And 2 years after Mother's passing, she's passed now 3 years. February was 3 years. Judge Kawamoto was paying the Martins for being in court. What are they doing? Are they communing with her spirit?
Holding seances?
They don't have a soul, so I can't say soul, but they took money 2 years after Mother's passing, and they didn't even give us money to bury her. $1.5 million.
Gone.
They absorbed for their own pleasures, because David Martin bought a Malibu mansion in California. A Malibu mansion. They didn't give me money to bury my mother. Why is this happening, JoAnne?
And you can look that up too if you go to, I believe it's in El Segundo. It might be in Malibu, but you can look up Martin on the public records and you can see the house that he's built there, and it's absolutely beautiful. I don't believe it's on the Google properties, but you can find it on some of the other internets. And we find that to be common with the GALs.
And you can look at the date that he came across, that he's been doing this, because we were in court for 7 years. 7 years between Solo, and I need to also make a clarification here, is that it was our attorney, Karen Bowes, from Ronella and Ronella, that's where she was, I don't know if she's still there, Karen Bowes, who was our private attorney for 27 years, she is the one, she is the Judas goat that brought us into Kawamoto's courtroom. And she said, there'll be nothing left. I said, what? I said, I don't even know what's that. She said, I can assure you there'll be nothing left. So she told the truth with that. But when I told Karen, and Karen knew the situation with my daughter, because they removed me as power of attorney. You know,
That's terrible.
My mother took me to her attorney, and she did everything. I just followed the directions that my mother laid out.
And you paid for that power of attorney, correct?
Yes, of course.
And they invalidated the power of attorney automatically.
Absolutely.
On a summary proceeding without notice, hearing.
And not only that, is that Karen Bowes told me power of attorney is nothing. She said, you need to get guardianship. What is that?
That's not true. There's the Illinois law, for all of you people out there, the Illinois law clearly says that once you get power of attorney, that is inviolate. Those are very, very important things that someone can put into writing before they pass, and even a probate court is not supposed to disturb that. So if you create a power of attorney for health care and it says provide food and water and comfort, which I'm sure your mother's did.
Yes.
Even if she said something else, maybe she said
No,
recitate me.
It said
everything, right?
It said, oh, that's really important. She said by whatever means she wants to stay alive. Whatever means.
Then why did they do that?
And the worst of the worst is they had a bracelet on her that said DNR, do not resuscitate. Why is that? We just found that they had it covered, and we didn't know they had it covered until after we finally were able to secure her person after her passing, and that was 8 days later. We weren't notified. We weren't nothing. She was laying in the morgue for 8 days.
Well, see, I consider that to be a breach of fiduciary duty. The David Martin and the powers that be would argue that the court invalidated the power of attorney, but the court's not supposed to invalidate the power of attorney if you look up the Illinois Power of Attorney Act. The Illinois Power of Attorney Act makes it clear that these directives, what you want to do with your body, how you want to have your funeral, whether you want food and water, whether you want a breathing apparatus, whether you want major surgeries, are not to be invalidated without notice, a hearing, grounds, and findings of fact. It has to be something serious to terminate those.
And we sent, not only that, is that they were stealing money out of her account, and we wanted to know, Judge Kawamoto was holding me responsible when I didn't have the ability to go into any accounts. They took away the checkbook, and 16 checks were missing, something like $95,000.
And they blamed you.
And they blamed me.
And then they denied you discovery, right?
They denied me everything, and they sued me for the money that they stole.
But you see, that's how they keep honest people and honest attorneys out of probate. The law is X, they do Y. Your mother's advance directives are so important.
Well, then why isn't something being done? I want Judge Kawamoto in jail. She violated every law, every written law, and a moral law as well. And to top this all off, the worst of the worst, before I went into that courtroom, there was a list of 100 questions, and Karen Bowes gave me that. She said, oh, hurry up, you have to fill this out. How much money do you have? Where do you live? What's your property worth? How much this, that, whatever. And then I filled it out, and then they let me have guardianship for, I think, 2 months, and then they removed me, put my mentally ill daughter, my 41-year-old mentally ill daughter, as guardian, who wants to put my mother in a hospice. I said, that was never, and they wouldn't give me her will. All of a sudden, the will disappeared. The will disappeared. I thought that was sacrosanct. You don't touch the will. We didn't even ask for her attorney because that's my mother's private property until the time would come. We asked for subpoenas. They sent out subpoenas, And even her attorney refused to give up the copy of the will. He had a copy of the will. What did they do? Threaten him that he wouldn't be able to practice law if he came across the will? He gave me the will. We sent out subpoenas to all these annuity funds because where was the money going? My daughter is mentally ill. Did Karen Bowes have handle on that? Did Miriam Solo have handle on that? My daughter Kimberly Cooper is mentally ill. She was adjudicated in Lake County at the age of 7, and they did their own psychiatric on her, and they said she was a borderline personality, schizophrenic, and
she's had a lot of problems.
She's ill. She's ill from the get-go, and we just kept taking her to doctor, to doctor, to doctor. There was nothing we wouldn't do for her. She was the first girl after 3 boys, and this is what the child that we had. So we didn't just toss her away. I mean,
when was the guardianship closed?
About 4 months into when I received guardianship in February, and they closed it from May. I think in June or July of the same year.
No, when was the guardianship closed on your mother's estate? It was opened, and they haven't dismissed Dave Martin. Isn't he still billing the estate?
I think he is. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Because you have 2 years from that date, because you have serious breaches of fiduciary duty.
I don't know what to do with this, JoAnne. Where do we go? I can't just sit here and not do anything. I can't just talk about it on the air. I need for the public to know that they too have the right of communication and to be able to right the wrongs. My mother is dead. They murdered her. They killed her.
Under the Illinois Supreme Court rules, in order to appeal, because obviously you have to appeal, the first time to come to appeal would be in guardianship anytime somebody's right or status has been changed or denied. Okay? The next time is when the guardianship ends, which is generally a death, because we know nobody ever gets out of guardianship.
Okay, then.
So, but it's actually when the guardianship is closed. So 2 years from the time the guardianship is closed, generally the decedent's estate is opened. You may not have done that yet because your mom has no money, but you should open the estate and then sue for these serious breaches of fiduciary duty.
They drained it, absolutely down to the penny, with no, I mean, these are supposed to be people that without question are, know the law. But that's the whole problem, is they know the loopholes in the law. And when you've got collusion between the judges, the GALs, and the banks,
they have
by the way,
tremendous power.
We can't forget Bruce Lang. He also was dipping in the account. Wow. He was an attorney that was hired by Karen Bowes. Karen Bowes hired Bruce Lang and Miriam Solo, and she worked on our behalf for about 1 week, and then she turned and worked on behalf of the other side. How do you do that? That's is that not a cardinal sin? You can't all of a sudden flip in court and move to the other side?
Well, the problem is that the GALs have tremendous power. So all they have to do is threaten her with presenting bar complaints. You can see that came with me and Ken. There's all kinds of ways that they threaten the attorneys that come in. No matter how honest they are, you don't want to lose your law license. So a lot of them just flip and they don't really care.
Well,
in your case, you've got all kinds of improprieties. You've got breaches of fiduciary duty. You've got theft, embezzlement.
Oh my goodness, yes. And so even Karen Bowes brought me to to ensure the status of my mother's finances. That was Trausch, James Trausch. He also dipped in to the $95,000. He took the money because he said that it was stolen, but no one has shown proof. We had 3 CPAs that said everything was there to the penny, 3 of them. And Judge Kawamoto didn't listen to anybody, and she held me responsible. I'm not a CPA. We brought it to capable professional people. She laughed. I said, I don't know what you're doing here. And she laughed at me. In the court, she laughed because she knew that we were overwhelmed. And I could only visit my mother when they allowed me to, 1 hour, and we had to pay $160 just to visit my own mother. They had a babysitter with us, someone that would stand and watch what we said, listen to what we said or did or whatever. They could write notes and they could do anything, but we couldn't do anything. Well, that's just not the case. We weren't going to allow that to happen. And by the way, there are 6 letters that we did not even let you know about that I wrote to Karen Bowes when she was in the Lakeview, it's
Nursing
the
facility?
nursing, yeah, it's like a prison there. And the urine was impossible all over the floor. I have a witness that came with me. It was terrible. It was terrible. It was, they didn't feed her. She was in a room with 4 or 5 other women, and she was hungry, and I asked for food for her. They told me the kitchen was closed and that she couldn't, they weren't going to bring up any food. I said, even a bowl of soup, something. No. And the lady at the farthest end, one was sleeping, and they put her tray in front of her, and they came back. She was still sleeping when they knocked her out. I don't know. But anything is possible with these.
The use of psychotropic drugs are extremely prevalent in nursing homes. 30% of psychotropic drugs are sold in nursing homes, even though the FDA has not approved them for anybody under 20 or over age 60. I have an excellent video that's up on my blog, and I don't know if they've mentioned it or not, but it's www.marygsykes.com, and they'll probably run it with a credit.
Well,
there it is.
There it is.
Right there. So
Yep.
it's www.marygsykes.com.
Yep.
There's an excellent video on psychotropic drugs, how they don't work, they cause more harm than good, and yet they're based on horse tranquilizers, Thorazine. All of them are based on Thorazine. They come up with new names for them. They heavily market them. They get the doctors to prescribe them, and by doing things like giving them these wonderful trips, they say, oh, go and lecture for an hour on our drugs in Trinidad,
oh my goodness.
all these
Oh
wonderful
my goodness.
places.
Oh my goodness.
And so that's how they get the doctors to prescribe this all the time. And then psychiatrists and psychologists, there's really no way to fix the brain, so they cling to this idea. They're going to prescribe these drugs when in fact they do nothing other than worsen the condition over years.
Well, this lady was totally out of it, and I was there like 8 to 10 hours a day. I drove in and went into the city of Chicago and was there. And I complained because I said, you know, look, and this other lady at the other end was eating her meal on a commode. On a commode. These are like throwaways. I said, you know, then Miriam Sola told me, well, you can't come to visit her. You can't come to visit her. I said, this is my mother. I'm going to come and visit her. She said, no, I don't want you to come and visit her. So I said, I don't care what you say. I'm going to come and visit her. And I signed in all the time. And what I noticed what they were doing is when I went to sign in or sign out, it was at night, I had to go behind the desk to get the book to sign out. And there was a picture of my mother and another name underneath it. It didn't say Alice Gore. There was another name. This is something new that I didn't tell you about. Another name under that. But I want you to know that there are 6 letters. 6 letters, some are 2 and 3 pages apiece, that I wrote to Karen Bowes because I said to Karen, the judge isn't listening. I said, and Karen, you know that Kimmy is mentally ill. She was adjudicated mentally ill, a danger to herself and others. She was in 54 placements. She was a part of a double murder in Skokie. What is the matter with these people? She would call me from jail, get me out of here. She was 8 years old, part of a double murder with Jackie Gibbons. Go online, people, and you can read it for yourself. But my daughter was a part of that. And Gail Tuller Friedman was the one who put her in that girls' home on California and Devon in Chicago. Gail Tuller Friedman lives here in Highland Park. She's a practicing attorney. She wanted to be a judge, and she thought it would be a good idea to put a collar on us because we have a mentally ill child. And they took her because Gail Tuller Friedman said that she was an abused child. when in reality,
She was a troubled child.
troubled, very troubled and self-mutilating, very bad.
Very sad.
Because she tried to suffocate our 3-month-old infant at the time. I mean, we have had problems, but in these 6 letters, I wrote Karen everything that was going on. They piped up the heat in my mother's room. It was like 85 outside or 92 outside. The thing was registering 98 or 100 degrees in the room. Everything is written down. And we sent this to Karen. She didn't act on any of it. Did not act on any of it. Miriam Solo, same. I said, in the best interest of my mother, I'm writing this in good faith. All these letters. Why isn't someone listening? So where can we go with this? I mean, I've got these 6 letters. They're good to go.
Well, I think it's time now to go ahead and sue in federal court. I mean, that's where you have to go. And you have to do it within 2 years of the guardianship being closed. You can open up a decedent's estate, get appointed executrix, and then you would go ahead and sue for malpractice and for breach of fiduciary duty.
Well, mother is past already 3 years. Is this too late already?
Well, no, it's actually when the guardianship ends. And so if David Martin is still billing, I think you've got time. You have to go pull the court records and find out. You have 2 years from when that ends. If you have guardians that don't do what they're supposed to, guardians that steal money.
Well, that's all the right things, but what do you do with the ones that do steal? What do you do with the ones that take money and laugh in your face? What do you do with the ones that threaten you before you even get into court? That was Miriam Solo. Absolutely. I'll go testify in any court.
Well,
I have documentation.
It is my understanding that Miriam Solo, from what I've heard on the grapevine, is she is not allowed to take on any more estates. So I rarely see her on the 18th floor anymore. She seems to have moved to the law division courts. I don't know what she's doing there, but at least she can't kill people or
They
make
killed
sure
my
they're
mother.
drugged.
They killed her.
I know, it's terrible.
They killed her. And with Mary Sykes, my goodness sakes, you see, they're waiting until they can wear down the senior citizens, and they wear her down. And when we came in, my mother was sleeping. I had no idea that they put these morphine patches on them.
They do that all the time.
I did, and they just do that to shut them up and hope that they die. Well, she did.
Well, one of the things I want to tell you, if you see them doing that to teens or to the elderly, try and get the name of the doctor and report him to the IDPR. It's not an FDA-approved use.
I never was allowed to know anything. They didn't, because I was no longer the guardian.
But you knew the nursing home, and that nursing home has doctors registered with it, and you pull their license.
The nursing home is the one on Oak Street, the Warren Bar Pavilion. It had at one time outstanding accolades because it was a Masonic hospital. Because Warren Bar was a potentate. And my husband is a 32nd degree Mason, a Shriner Mason, and the hospital or the nursing home was sold to Morris Isformis, which happens to be.
And he's had troubles in the newspaper.
Miriam Solo's cousin.
Exactly. And they always say that they don't have anything to do with one another, but the reality is, if you look up Morris Isformis and his son Philip Isformis, yes, so many problems, so many alleged indictments, so just all over the place.
I don't know whether it's legally to say whatever, if it's alleged or whatever alleged. All I know is I lived the experience. I can tell you, like someone who lived in a concentration camp, don't tell me these people coming out the way they are and the memories they have. And the veterans, they know what they saw during the war. Don't tell them what they didn't see. You weren't there. I was. I can tell you. If we write a book or a movie is done, I don't give a damn. The point is I want all these people exposed for the crooks and criminals they are, that they kill innocent people in their life that they should have had after working so hard and to enjoy their life. But they put her with a mentally ill person who was a roommate of Jackie Gibbons, who butchered her mother and father with a hammer.
Well, they do that because they know they can control her, they can steal, and she's not going to say anything. That's exactly why they do it.
And we don't even know where she's at. We never came across her until we got into court. And Miriam Solo
Found her right away.
absolutely she did, because Karen Bowes was the attorney of record when Kimmy was 7 years old, all the way in through juvenile court, and knew that she was mentally ill. And she had the audacity to bring her in that court and not say one word against. Every time I raised my hand to speak,
They tell you
Judge
to shut
Kawamoto,
up.
she told me, no, you can't speak. So that's when I called Karen over and I said, she's got to know. She said, what's the matter? I said, she's got to know Kimmy's mentally ill. And then she walked away from me.
Karen Bowes.
Karen Bowes walked away from me.
Well, she either was that way all along or they threatened her and that's what she wanted
I don't
to
know
do.
if they threatened her or not. All I know is 27 years we trusted this person. She was our confidant. She took care of all our legal matters, everything, our wills, everything. And now she did this. She did this.
But everybody knows probate is an old boy system. They know that what they do there you cannot challenge. I went into probate on the Sykes case. I was threatened right away, loss of my law license if I simply filed an appearance. Ken was threatened right away by Adam Stern, and he said, if you try to investigate, now an attorney has a duty to investigate before they take on a case.
Sure.
And he tried to investigate, and Adam Stern said, if you investigate, we're going to hit you up with sanctions. They hit him up with sanctions. He appealed that, and those sanctions were dismissed.
Miriam Solo put a court order against me to not see my mother or not even be on the street. And Judge Kawamoto said in the court, she said, if Cooper is down there and she's arrested, don't take her anywhere else but bring her back to my court.
Yeah, because that's what they want to do. They want you back there so that they can chain you like they chained Gloria. And then Judge Stewart said she never chained Gloria. I found it in 3 other transcripts, and I really believe that was final straw. I think that was the thing that took her out, because here she is. She's in court. It's on a transcript. Oh, they changed the transcript too, of course.
Yes, they changed the transcripts. Yes.
Are you surprised? My ARDC transcript.
No. What? They did that too?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's been on the
this-
blog. So this is the ARDC. This is the arbiter of morals and ethics among attorneys, Jerome Larkin. Who was involved? Jerome Larkin, Sharon Aprishik, Melissa Smart, maybe my tribunal. How do you, I still want to know. I've challenged people on the blog. How do you change a transcript? Mary Sykes, Judge Stewart gave the Guardian a lecture. Do not commingle the assets between the trust, the house was in trust, and her income, which was part of the estate. If you do that, I have to bring it all together.
Yeah.
Carolyn got to pay the trust assets, the income, for the mortgage on the house. Judge Stewart gave her a lecture, and I'll put the affidavit up tomorrow. I think it's been up before, and it disappeared from the transcript.
Oh, hello.
Disappeared. How does that happen?
I want to know, why is it that the subpoenas never get taken?
Right, seriously, right.
Why?
Subpoenas,
This is not
they're all quashed.
This is, why isn't this serious? I mean, they bring us into court. And
Only,
that has to be
only in
serious.
probate, though. Only in probate. You go to federal court, you better not pull this stuff, because a federal court judge will just be all over you. I mean, you'll be sanctioned. But in probate, they go and they quash subpoenas to banks, because the banks don't want to have to admit they're in on it. For instance.
Oh, wait, when you brought that up, I'll just say this one quick thing.
Sure.
Bruce Lang. I didn't know anything about him. I trusted Karen's judgment. Bruce Lang works for the Harris Trust and Savings Bank and is able to get in there and dabble into everybody's private trusts and know what's going on.
That's right.
And
then
we
when you
didn't
go,
even know that.
Yes, they get into the trust department. They get into all the bank accounts. Now they have something called the private bank. They kind of spun that off. That came from Illinois Pooled Disabled Trust. Do you know what that is?
No.
I haven't figured it out either. All I know is if you see an estate and it says we're going to put everything in Illinois Pooled Disabled Trust like it's a wonderful thing, you put money in a bank account, like big money, like 200, 300, 400, more than that, right?
Yeah.
You're supposed to get interest, right?
So?
Not here. No, they take out 5%, 7% a year. So you have a $400,000 estate, they take out $40,000 a year as case management. Right in front of the judge. Judges don't say anything.
We never took penny one from my mother. We bought her an electric, the movable bed, and we bought her everything she needed. I didn't know anything about Medicare or whatever.
Medicare reimbursements.
Yeah, we just bought it for her because she needed it. I didn't take any monies out of her accounts or anything. We bought for my mother. There was never a question not to buy for her or do for her, and look what they did. They're smiling up their sleeve, just whistling a happy tune because they found someone that they could take advantage of. A disabled person, Kimberly Cooper, disabled, and I will tell you that the attorney that was representing her in the court when we were up on that 18th floor, we were talking in the hall and she came after me. She would have struck me, I think that would have been it, but her attorney stepped in between us. It was maybe 2 inches for her arms to flail at me. And I turned and I looked around and he said, well, don't you know she's a disabled person? She's mentally ill and disabled. He knows that his client is mentally ill and disabled, but he allows her to stay in that court and have the run and rule over a 99-year-old woman who's bedridden and to kill her. She doesn't know what she's doing, my mentally ill daughter, because she's mentally ill. It's been this way all of her life. And when you're placed in 54 placements, something has to be wrong with a person like that.
Well, the reality of it is, the guardian should just be a position of putting somebody in a safe place. The reality of it is that these JLs and people like that, they're not safe. They put people in horrible nursing homes. They don't care that they're there. They don't care their bills get paid or whether they don't get paid. Nobody calls them on the carpet for it. The judges smile at them all the time.
The fact that Miriam Solo put my mother, I never put her in a nursing home. She didn't want to go in a nursing home.
Was that under advanced directives?
She told me, I think her attorney even knew that.
I now have them put it in that they don't want to be in a nursing home. Mary Sykes did that, and what happened? She ended up in a nursing home.
Well, the point is that Miriam Solo put my mother in a nursing home that his Formis owns and that her brother was in. Her brother, Morty Faskowitz, murdered his girlfriend.
Yes, I remember hearing about that.
Yes, it was in the newspapers. And
what year was that?
I think it was just last year.
Right.
And he's supposed to be at 26 in California in jail.
Awaiting trial.
Awaiting trial. And that's going to be...
He's totally crazy.
That's Miriam Solo's brother. And for all intents and purposes, I mean, there is a problem here, and I can't discuss it directly on the air right now, but I will tell you that we have evidence regarding Miriam Solo. So the point is that Morty Faskowitz was living in this nursing home, which Morris's Formis owned, and if Miriam Solo could bring people in, that was money for him. I don't know whether she was even charged for her brother living there. We had no idea until after a while. And then, of course, finding my mother's picture with some other lady's Polish name on there. I mean, I was startled, absolutely startled. I don't know whether these 6 letters, I mean, this is very dynamic because nobody else knew about it but Karen Bowes. I mean, we did send it to Senator Mark Kirk and let him know what was going on, and nothing took place. They murdered my mother. So I don't know what else to do. Who do you trust? Do you trust your senator, your governor, who do you trust? This is ridiculous.
I don't know. Another interesting thing that Ken and I figured out recently is the fact that apparently the Obama administration, to its credit, has been going after a lot of the fraud in healthcare. And obviously what you're talking about is fraud in healthcare.
Oh, absolutely.
They charge the government $5,000 a month under Medicare for a bed, and they provide bologna sandwiches and no services for $1,000 a month. That's where it starts. Omnicare last year got hit with a $146 million fine. Within a few months, they didn't bat an eye at writing a $150 million check.
Million dollar.
Now, the interesting thing that Kent and Judy Dukowski pointed out is, why are these major, major cases, millions and millions and millions of dollars. I'll tell you another case that we just found recently. They're on the HHS, the Department of Health and Human Services website, hhs.gov. You can find them on doj.gov. Oh. You do not find them in the Chicago Trib or Sun-Times.
Why is that?
That's why we're asking.
These are, they've got the Chief Keefe all over the paper. He's 18 years old, but they don't do anything about fraud, corruption, or murder in the nursing homes in Chicago.
In Chicago, do not put them in the newspapers, although we find them in newspapers across the nation. How does that happen? Who is doing this?
Do you know who is not doing this? Is
reporting on it.
Is the report? That's right. Do you know that on the food tray when I would feed my mother? Excuse me. When I would feed my mother, the pudding cups were 5 years old.
And probably from a tied-in supplier, too.
And what they did, I did research on this. What they did is they take the pudding cups and they sell it to a third world country. It's shipped overseas. This is really important because I did my homework on this. And then they ship it back to America, to the USA, and then they pay little to nothing because they say that something in the transported or it's they can't use it, and then Pharmacy buys it up, and they were feeding it to my mother. And in this other Warren Bar Pavilion, they were charging
$5 a pudding cup.
Well, it was $15,000 a month, so I don't know. You figure it out.
$15,000 a month for bologna sandwiches and old pudding cups.
$15,000 a month. And at the Lakeview rehabilitation, I don't know what they're rehabilitating, it was $8,000 a month.
Well, here's another story that never hit the Tribune.
And my daughter never went to see my mother. And she
of course not.
And she was the
not.
one that was made guardian.
That's what happened during my trial. I waited for Cynthia Faranga, who was a GAL, and for Adam Stern, who was a GAL, and for Peter Schmiedel, who is the probate attorney for the guardian, to talk about, go on and on and on and on. And I encourage them. Yeah. What great people they are in probate court, how the judges love them, the other GALs love them. They never mention the clients. They never mention the families. They never mention how disgruntled they are, what great things they do, how hard they work, and all this other stuff. So I get them on the stand. And I asked him, I said, Adam Stern, how many times have you seen Mary? Twice. How long? 15 minutes each. Cynthia Faranga, how long have you seen Mary? Oh, I saw her a couple times, but that's because Adam Stern was supposed to take over because he's closer to her. Yeah. Adam Stern wasn't seeing her. Peter Schmiedel, how many times do you think he saw Mary?
Zero.
That's exactly it. But they sit on the stand, they talk about how great they are, how wonderful they are, how much they care about the wards. The only thing they care about is all their billing. Here's another thing I'm finding out too. I mentioned this to you before. Apparently what happens, like you get a survey, somehow they find out how much money these people have before they get into probate. They're targeted.
That's what Karen Bowles told me. Fill this out. How much does your mother have? I said,
they do it in the hospitals, though. They do it in the hospitals. They do it in group homes. They try to find out how much money either the person has or their family has, and then they divvy it up. There's supposed to be a room on the 18th floor. They divvy it up, and then that person is divvied up like a piece of meat. And this is the other thing I'm finding out. When they're leaning and doing fee petitions, the fee petitions are like for the same amount during periodic intervals. And that goes, again, back to the idea. These are not people. They're not human beings. These attorneys were told, the estate is this big, this is how much you're going to bill, you can't bill beyond that, and you can only do it after so many months. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
We're going to have to publish that. That's my next thing I'm publishing on the blog. I was shocked to find that out.
We need to publish a lot of things, and these 6 letters, I don't know. I'm telling you, they were, I wrote down everything. They put my mother in a quarantine room with a woman who was dying of MRSA. I was in that room, and my mother was in that room, and it says on the room, quarantine. But my mother didn't have it. The lady in the next bed had it. That was at Lakeview Rehabilitation as pharmacist. And the lady fell out of her wheelchair, and I didn't know if I should run to pick her up because, I'm not responsible for that. And they had this poor man, he was tied in a wheelchair for 14 hours. And I kept saying, please, somebody help him, somebody help. They didn't pay attention.
No, they do it all the time.
But in these 6 letters, I will attest.
Detailed it.
Absolutely.
We need to publish those. You need to get those. I want to publish those. I want to publish the pictures of your mother. I want to make it clear that this is what's supposed to be going on in the 18th floor. This cannot be what's going on in the nursing homes. If your mom wants to take a half hour, an hour to eat, that's what they should do.
2 hours, and I fed her. There was not a problem. She's my mother. Where else was I going? I went there to spend time with her, and she would eat everything. She was a wonderful eater.
And just another little update for you. You know how I speak out, and there's another attorney. His name is Michael Gerhardt, and he's speaking out for all the victims for child visitation, because that's another hotbed, right?
Well, we had that too
Right.
with Kimmy.
So let me just say this. What they did is we get this little ID, and I have it on my cell phone. I'll have to bring it. I went to go renew it, and they said I can't have another one. I
What?
asked them why. And because then you don't have to stand in line, right? You get right in
you
and
go
go up to
right
the
in,
courts.
you show.
Right. So they took it away. I said, why are you doing this? And he goes, well, I don't know. They didn't tell me. But he took it from me, and he kept it. So now I go down there, and I ask him for another one. They keep on saying that they can't give me another one, but they don't tell me why. With Michael, he had his divorce. They could say, oh, you've got something pending. I don't have anything pending, so what's the excuse? That's just another violation of my civil rights. This is what they do. They're petty. They're vindictive. This is Sheriff Dart.
Vindictive.
Sheriff Dart.
Very vindictive.
Just put his name right up there. He goes along with this. He wants to help all of the people who do the things like they did to Alice Gore on the 18th floor. This is what he does. He wants to help the ARDC because the ARDC is mad because I mentioned the pulling of your mother's 18 gold teeth.
29.
I have mentioned the fact
29 gold teeth.
that Mary Sykes has no jurisdiction.
Crowns, fillings,
Right,
inlays.
right.
My brother did a wonderful job on her.
And for that, I cannot get a new attorney ID. No, they just took it away. They won't tell me why. So I keep on going down there. FOIA did, and we'll have to see what happens. Michael FOIA'd his. They made up a bunch of crap, gave it back to him, but he doesn't have an ID. He's an honest attorney. He cares about the people. He speaks out about it. He is changing the law right now. He has some wonderful legislation up that says unless you're an unfit parent, you get some visitation. Because what they do is they find the parent with the best money, the best attorney.
Oh, yeah.
And then the other parent, they go behind their back, they stamp these orders, no visitation, then you're screwed for 2 years. It's terrible what they do.
Oh, really? Well, I lived that here in Lake County with
There you
Kimmy.
go. Mm-hmm.
And Gail Tuller-Friedman, she was the one who was making all these decisions. And what is she doing? She's listening to somebody who is severely mentally ill. By the way, she knew that she did wrong, but she said she wasn't going to change her opinion. And the judge had her apologize to me in court. Lake County had the judge and Friedman apologize to me.
Did it do any good?
No, because
No, they don't care.
The child was so desperately ill, moving her from home to home, 54 placements. And
That's terrible.
I know all of these people. They put her in every home you can imagine. Every Catholic Charities wouldn't touch her. They said, "Oh no, we know about Cooper. We know about that girl, Kimberly. She is severely ill.
Yeah, it's
We
really
can't
sad,
take her."
yeah.
And they wanted to change her name. They wanted to change her religion. They wanted to make her a Lutheran, maybe a Methodist or a Baptist or a Presbyterian. They wanted to do everything, but not to care for her mental disability. Mm-hmm. We have so much documentation. We have every paper that was ever written on Kimberly Cooper in juvenile court. And I'm happy to share that with anybody, with everybody, because it belongs to me. It belongs to me.
It's your life.
It's my life. It's exactly what happened to us. My husband had a heart attack over this.
Terrible.
And it was terrible. They took this one child of a family of 7 and decided to hack her to pieces, send her out of state to another institution in Wisconsin, that the prerequisite was you had to have a psychiatric to show that you were so mentally disturbed you could not live with anyone else. And they sent her there. with the judge all knowing. They all knew. No one was brave enough to make a decision to say, just get this kid some help. What are they doing? What are they doing? We lived this trauma and travesty of justice and law through a mentally ill child, and then 30 years later we wind up going back because they did it to my mother.
Which is very sad.
Probate court. We want justice to be done. We want those who are responsible for doing what they did, we want them in jail because what they did was illegal. If you go through a stop sign, you get stopped, the cop gives you a ticket, and that's it. You can't do it. What these people did is they take and steal money. They murder old people, disabled people. They do whatever they can do to take the money. They're money grubbers, and then they leave the state. We want everyone to stand trial. Gail Tuller Friedman, she was the beginning. She was the beginning. And Judge Kawamoto, Miriam Solo, Bruce Lang, yes, Bruce, we haven't forgotten you. Karen Bowes from Ranella and Ranella, who have a very bad reputation. And the Martins, Melissa Martin, and David Martin, who are getting paid to come to court to do what? You're communing with a ghost, maybe. Mother should only haunt you from now till the rest of your life. Because if she doesn't, I will. I'm going to be on this like white on rice, because what they did was wrong. We are good people. She's a human being. She should have deserved better than what she got. I was devoted to her. I'm her only daughter. My brother died. I have another brother in California. I'm the only one here for her. And they removed me and put a mentally ill person who was adjudicated years. It's not a cold. Mental illness is not a cold. You don't just go over it. That is it. She's ill.
And then they put your mother in a nursing home where she never wanted to be.
She never wanted to be there. The notice, because her attorney, I can't remember his name offhand, her attorney had all the documentation. And he said, this is what your mother wants. And I said, I'll follow it. Just tell me, by whatever means necessary to keep her alive. It was in black and white. How do you misread anything like that? By whatever means. Then they put a DNR on her bracelet, on her arm.
And then they drugged her, and the drugs aren't appropriate. And then they
starved
her.
They pulled her teeth, they starved her, they put a tube in her stomach, and they forgot about her. They closed the door and let her die.
And this is under, in accordance with the 18th floor of the Daly Center?
Yes, this is what the probate court of the 18th floor does. It's an automatic death sentence. If you're disabled, you get no compassion. You're just killed. You're just killed because you're of no value, hobbling around. They want your money. They even take money from veterans. They take their veterans' pay. It was terrible. People call me and they tell me this.
I know people right now that have $3 million in property, and they're living on $400 a month, them and their caretaker, devoted son. And when you talk to the GALs about it, they said, well, they agreed to that from the beginning.
Oh, no.
And yet the attorneys have leaned that property like $200,000.
All I know is I want justice done. I can name the names. I do name the names. And I want them to face I want to face Judge Kawamoto and tell her she's a crook. She's a thief. She's a murderer. She murdered my mother and allowed it to happen. She should have known better, because, what they did is they flew her up from juvenile court, where they just dispose of these kids left and right, put them in jail. They sell them. They do whatever they want to do. And they put her where she could do the most good and make the most money, in probate court. Yeah. I want to face these people face to face. Texas, watch out. You've got Kawamoto. I don't think she's going to go into law. But I want everybody to know. And watch this on YouTube. Please watch this on YouTube. Where is it? It's down here. There you go. YouTube.com, North Shore Live CC. And you'll see this program. We're going to get this up. You're going to see it. There are a couple other programs that are waiting to get put on this. Please contact me. at bev.cooperscorner@yahoo.com. If you want to be on the program, this is real. This is honorable. This is truthful. I don't know what happened to Senator Mark Kirk, but we put him on this program when he was John Porter's chief of staff, because he wanted to run for Congress, and he made that, and he did that, and we put him on for senator. He did that. Where is your help, Senator? You're our senator in Illinois, besides Dick Durbin. Where is your help? You had these letters. Why didn't you do something? Why?
I don't understand. I'm one of the people that we're working with now. I've started a charity, Justice for Everyone. Senator Kay Hagan has said that they are going to help us. We're applying for grants right now. So I hope I can get more help in publishing things,
Good.
Digging through the probate files.
Good.
We receive so many reports. Some of the things I want to do is figure out the size of the estate, how much money these people are taking, and why it's just nobody ever questions the fact that they're draining these large chunks of cash.
And she threatened she threatened me in court. The judge threatened me in court that if I didn't something about come up with the papers, I didn't have the papers. The accountant had the papers. That she's going to fine me $500 and give me 6 months in jail for what? I mean, what is that? I think Judge Kawamoto, you might have a problem yourself. I question.
She was a very strange lady.
Yes, and unfortunately, the Asian community is not happy because she was representing the Asian community. There was no
it went
judge.
beyond that. There were other things going on, I think, on the 18th floor that just could not be explained other than through the funny business that is reported by people who have really investigated that. I think more investigation has to be done. I think we need more court watchers there, honest, reliable attorneys who are willing to go up against the system. We need more blogs. Jerome Larkin wants to make sure there are no blogs because he's come after me. He's charged me with misconduct. I haven't seen what my discipline's going to be. Ken's was 4 years.
4 years. He's
for
78
revealing
years
the
old.
corruption. And not only that, if you look at what they charged him with, it says that he misled Dr. Patel, that he represented Mary. They don't link to the letter because the letter says, after I appear for Mary, I plan to do additional investigation.
Well,
what is that? I've challenged them. Link to the letter. They won't do it.
Well,
It's a great big lie.
I'm very disappointed because I'm an honorable person, and my sons and my husband served for the United States to protect us and to fight for our freedom and justice. And justice was not being served when they came to my mother. I didn't know the other cases, but I will tell you, I just sat in that court one day, and before we even went in, and some young man for his mother said his mother needed teeth, but that the sister was the guardian, and the sister was asking for the $69,000 or $89,000 for a headstone, and she gave the sister the $89,000, but she wouldn't give the son money so that he could buy the teeth for his mother to eat. And that was Judge Kawamoto.
That is Judge Kawamoto.
That's her.
Very
That's
strange
her.
decision.
Yes, no, she's just a very, the person who's got a problem. I'm one of the founding members for the Alliance for the Mentally Ill, and I can tell you, I'm not a doctor, but I've been involved with them for 37 years, so I know somebody who is not working on all fours. Anyhow, we need to close this. It went so fast.
It did.
Quick.
It seems like just 1 minute.
That was it. Thank you for allowing us in your home or your place of business. Thank you for watching the program. Please watch the YouTube. Contact JoAnne if you've got a problem with probate or anything. You need to get this going, and we'll be happy to have you on our program. Watch the YouTube. Please watch the YouTube. Thank you, JoAnne, for coming.
Thank you so much
Being
for
a nice,
having
warm
me. And
hand.
yes, I'd love to
Nice.
help anybody.